After years of consulting, I kind of see the same mistake across the board. It's very common. I'm not going to say it's 90% of businesses, but it's up there. And that is that companies think, and leadership in these companies think, that they have a strategy when they really don't. And what they're actually doing instead is just stacking up tactics. They confuse a pile of tactics for a strategy. Your strategy is how you position on the field. It's how you plan to win. What is it you're going to do to win? How do you position on the field? What ways do you take advantage of your strengths? How do you minimize your weaknesses? Position on the field in a way that nobody else can so that you can win in the marketplace. The tactics are just the actions you're going to take to get the strategy done. So if you're going around saying something like, hey, our strategy is to post on LinkedIn daily, run Google ads, and optimize our website, that's not a strategy. You have a to-do list. Nothing wrong with to-do lists, but do not confuse that for a strategy. The thing is, you can have various levels. You can have a corporate strategy. You can have a departmental strategy. My example of LinkedIn, Google ads, and optimizing the website, it's a very common marketing strategy. Like, that's our marketing strategy. It's like, no, those are the activities. Those are the marketing tactics. That's not a marketing strategy. I'll give you some examples. I had a company that I interfaced with. There's a word, interfaced. They weren't a client, but they reached out to me. And they're like, hey, our competitors are blowing it up on LinkedIn, and we want to dominate LinkedIn. And so we're getting in touch with you because we want you to help. Now, nothing wrong with wanting to dominate on LinkedIn. Nothing wrong with wanting to beat your competitors. But to copycat them, to say, well, they're busy doing this, that means that we want to do it too. That's not a strategy. That's not even a good tactic, if I'm honest. When you're looking at a strategy, you're trying to figure out, like, what makes us different? What's unique about us? What can we take advantage of that's about us in the market that we're in that's kind of different than everybody else? And how can we leverage that to crush it? Another company that I worked with, this was a client years ago, and they had this 20-page, 30-page strategic plan. They spent all kinds of time in the third, fourth quarter of the year. September, they kick off their strategic planning, and they get all the executives and all the management, and everybody would submit their information. They go through a whole process. And by the end of the year, they were very proud of themselves. They had a strategic plan. And when you would look at the strategic plan, what it really was just a massive company-wide to-do list that was broken up by department. There was no clear positioning. There was no synthesis of ideas. There was no creativity. It was just a list of what everybody was going to do that year. And the interesting thing is, when you would look at the different departments and their lists, you would not see the connection between the two. It wasn't clear what all this busyness, what all these to-do items, these actions had to do with the ultimate goals of the business. It was just, what busy work is everyone going to be doing, so that we can measure that we're doing things, so that we know we did things that we should have done. And that was the plan. There was no cohesiveness. Lastly, I had a company that was really fixated on efficiency. They didn't look at the outside markup. They weren't really aware of what their competitors were doing. They weren't really concerned with innovations in the marketplace, product opportunities. They were strictly focused on efficiency. Across the company, it was all about efficiency. Now, working on efficiency in a business is great, but you want to work on efficiency for strategic advantage. So yeah, I'm sure they were able to increase their margins a little bit. I'm sure that they were able to get the most, the most productivity out of each employee. That's great. Nothing wrong with that, I guess. But there was no strategy driving it. It was just efficiency and optimization for efficiency and optimization's sake. And I have to ask, like, a business that does that and thinks that they're being strategic in their approach, I have to ask, like, what is strategic about that? Again, nothing wrong with being efficient. I think it's an excellent thing. Now, for all this kind of stuff, there's a simple fix. I mean, if you're finding yourself in the situation and you're thinking, well, I want to do a better job with this myself, I kind of fall into this to-do list, tactical mindset and confuse that for strategy. No harm, no foul. It's a simple fix. Essentially, you just got to keep in mind, like, a strategy is how you're positioning yourself. It's a set of choices that you're making about how you'll position yourself on the field of play, if you will, in your market. You may have a competitor that's the low price leader. You might have another one that is the high-end exclusive option. You might have one that brags about certain features or functions or whatever. You got to look at yourself and say, where do we fit in this marketplace and what can we own? How can we position in a way that we're unassailable? How can we position in a way that we've got really great value for our customers, that we can differentiate ourselves in really dynamic ways? That's your strategy. Figuring out how you can do that, that's the strategy. It's how you're going to position on the field to win. The tactics are how you're going to execute on that strategy. What are you going to do to support, to deliver on, to accomplish that position that you said you're going to take? It's that simple. So the framework, where are you going to compete? What's your market, your niche? That's the playing field. How are you going to win? What's going to be your unique positioning? What are you not going to do? What are the things you're going to take off the table? Because you can't do everything. That's one of the big things about strategies. You got to be willing to say no. And then lastly, you got to just figure out your tactics. What are you going to have to do to deliver on all this? It's quite simple. So if you're finding yourself confusing tactics and strategy, you're finding yourself being very tactically oriented, stop collecting tactics and calling it a strategy. If you want to win, you got to get clear on real strategy first. Understand how you're going to position. Understand how it makes you different, unique, how it gives you an advantage on that playing field. Plays to your strengths, minimizes your weaknesses, and score. That's what you want to do. Tactics are great, but they want to be contextualized. They want to be contained within a strategy, a coherent strategy, so that you're not busy just running around doing all kinds of crazy things and then wondering at the end of the year why you didn't move the needle a whole lot. Guys, drop a comment down below. What's the most common fake strategy that you've seen? Or maybe you've been making this mistake yourself. If so, share in the comments. What have you been doing where you've confused something like tactics for a strategy? I'd love to know. And if you're interested, I've got a free email that goes out once a week. I talk about things like strategy, entrepreneurship, marketing, branding, revenue generation, wealth creation, and just being a fulfilled human being. I'd love to have you on the list. Link down in the description below. Guys, I love each and every one of you. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.